This is something that happened to me back in the middle of summer a few years ago. I was an avid backpacker at the time, always chasing that rush of getting lost in nature, away from everything. You know, the kind where you hike for hours just to feel like you're the only person left on the planet. I was in my mid-20s, bouncing between jobs, and I'd heard from a buddy about these old fire lookout towers you could rent out in the national forests. They were retired spots from the 1950s, perched way up in the mountains, miles from anywhere. Sounded perfect for a solo trip. Total isolation, killer views, and a chance to unplug. Looking back, I should have picked one that wasn't quite so remote, but hey, hindsight's always 20/20, right? I'd been scrolling through the Forest Service website one night, and this particular tower caught my eye. It was the most isolated one available, cheaper too, with slots open all summer. The listing had just one blurry old photo, so I had no idea what I was really getting into, but that was part of the thrill. I booked it for 3 nights, figuring it'd be a solid reset. Packed my usual gear. Tent, just in case, sleeping bag, stove, lantern, some food, and my trusty pocket knife. Started the hike at 9 a.m. from the trailhead, which was already a good drive from the nearest town. The path was rough from the get-go. No smooth gravel here, just overgrown brush and roots snaking across the dirt. Dense forest all around, pines so thick they blocked out most of the sky. Birds chirping, the occasional rustle of something small in the underbrush, squirrels or whatever. It was peaceful but tiring. My legs burned after the first couple hours, sweat soaking my shirt under the pack. The trail wasn't marked well, more like a suggestion than a path. I had to stop a few times to check my map and compass, make sure I wasn't veering off. No cell service out there. Of course. I remember thinking, this is what you signed up for, man. Embrace it. But as the hours ticked by, that initial excitement faded into just pushing forward. 5 hours in, I finally caught a glimpse of the tower through the trees, tiny up on the mountain, like a lonely cabin on stilts. It gave me a second wind. Another hour of steep switchbacks, my breath coming in huffs, and I made it. The view, damn, it was worth every step. Endless ridges of green stretching out, valleys dipping low, the kind of panorama that makes you feel small in the best way. The tower itself was beat up, weather-beaten wood with patches here and there, a wraparound walkway about 15 feet up, accessed by a creaky metal staircase. Inside was bare. Just wooden floors, glass walls on all sides, no furniture or anything. Not glamorous, but functional. I dropped my pack, caught my breath, and just stood there, wind whipping through, birds calling from below. With a few hours of sunlight left, I made myself at home. Boiled some water for ramen, sat on the ledge with my legs dangling over the drop, hundreds of feet down to the treetops. The air was crisp, pine-scented, and so quiet you could hear your own heartbeat. No other hikers, no sounds of civilization. It was exactly what I needed after a rough year. As the sun started dipping, painting the sky orange and pink, I felt this deep peace settle in. I know it sounds cheesy, but out there, problems back home just seemed smaller. I unrolled my sleeping bag inside, figuring the tower would shield me from any critters or weather. Exhausted from the hike, I crashed around 8 p.m., the last light fading through the windows. But sleep didn't come easy. Maybe it was the hard floor or the wind rattling the glass, but I tossed for 30, maybe 40 minutes. Then, footsteps, clear as day, clanging up the metal stairs. My heart jumped. Who the hell would be out here this late? I scrambled up, peering out the door. A man rounded the corner, older guy, late 40s maybe, with long blonde hair whipping in the breeze. He didn't flinch when he saw me through the glass, like he'd expected someone. "Great place to stay a few nights, isn't it?" he said, grinning wide, stepping closer like we were old pals. I froze for a second, door cracked open. Yeah, I rented it for 3 nights. Tried to sound casual, but my voice came out tight. He just nodded, still smiling. Actually, I was hoping to stay here tonight. That grin didn't falter, but something about his eyes felt off. Too steady, too knowing. No pack, no gear, just him in jeans and a flannel shirt. Who hikes 6 hours without supplies? I mumbled something about a friend joining me soon. Total lie, to get him to back off. His face shifted, grin fading a bit. Well, looks like you've got room. It's just you, right? The way he said it sent a chill down my spine. I repeated the friend bit, firmer this time. He paused, then nodded slowly. All right then. Turned and headed down the stairs. As he descended, I noticed again no backpack. Nothing. Like he'd just appeared. I stood there, heart pounding, watching him vanish into the darkening forest below. The tower suddenly felt exposed. Glass on all sides, no locks on the door. What if he came back? I stayed up longer than planned, lantern low, peering out into the black. The wind howled, trees swaying like shadows alive. Every rustle down there made me jump. You're being paranoid, I told myself. Probably just a hiker looking for shelter. But why no gear? And that grin? It didn't sit right. Eventually, exhaustion won, and I crashed, knife tucked under my pillow just in case. Woke at dawn, sunlight streaming in, feeling silly about last night. The view was even better in the morning light. Misty valleys, birds soaring. Made coffee, sat on the ledge again. But when I headed down the stairs to stretch, something caught my eye. A note taped to the railing at the bottom. Just a scrap of paper with "sorry" scrawled on it, and a crude smiley face next to it. My blood ran cold. He'd come back, while I was sleeping up there, vulnerable. The tower's height meant I'd hear footsteps, right? But nothing. He must have crept up quiet as a ghost. I ripped it off, crumpled it, but the damage was done. My peace shattered. I tried shaking it off. Probably just messing with you, I thought. Explored the area anyway, hiking down the hill, scanning for campsites or signs of him. Dense forest everywhere. Pines blocking the sun, roots tripping me up. No tents, no fire pits, nothing. Back at the tower, I spent the day reading, snacking, trying to reclaim the vibe. But as the sun dipped again, that unease crept back. What if he returned? I stayed up later this time, past midnight. Lantern hung on the wall, casting flickering shadows. The forest below was a sea of black, wind whispering through the pines like secrets. Needed to piss, so I grabbed the lantern and headed down the stairs, creaky under my weight. At the tree-line, something moved, just a flicker shifting out of the light. I froze, heart hammering. Someone there? My voice echoed, swallowed by the dark. Silence. Too much silence. I bolted back up, slamming the door, though it didn't lock. Peered out the windows, but the glass reflected my own scared face back at me. With the light on, I was a beacon. Anyone below could see me clear as day, while I saw nothing. Paranoia set in hard. This is crazy, I muttered. Probably a deer or the wind. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. Started packing, stuffing gear into my bag, stopping every 30 seconds to check the stairs. The forest was ink black, but the lantern let me see the bottom steps. Clear. Pack. Check. Clear. My hands shook, mind racing. What if he's waiting? Finally ready, bag slung over my shoulder. I glanced out one last time. There, at the bottom of the stairs. Him. Standing motionless, staring up at the tower. Same height, same build. The blonde hair caught a glint from my light. He didn't move, just watched, like he was deciding something. Terror hit like ice water. I ducked back, breath ragged. What the hell? I whispered. Peeking again, he was still there, unblinking. Minutes ticked by. Felt like hours. Then, slowly, he stepped back, paused, and melted into the dark. I waited, knife out, ears straining. Nothing. But I couldn't stay. Grabbed my bag, crept down the stairs, each creak screaming in the silence. Hit the trail, lantern low, pocket knife grip tight. The hike out was hell. 5 hours in the black, every snap of a twig making me spin, convinced he was following. You're insane, I thought. Why would he stalk you? But his knowledge of my stay, how? I told him 3 nights. What if he'd planned for the third? Dawn broke as I reached the trailhead. Legs jelly, mind fried. Never looked back. Reflecting now, I still can't explain it. Hiker in need? or something darker. That note, the stare, it chills me. I avoid remote spots now, question my sanity sometimes. What if he'd come up that third night? I know it sounds crazy, but I think I dodged something truly evil out there. Hey, this all went down back in the summer of 2019. I was 21 at the time, fresh out of my sophomore year of college, and I'd come back to crash at my parents' place for a few months. You know how it is, free food, no rent, and that familiar comfort of home after dorm life starts feeling like a cage. My folks live on the edge of this small town in upstate New York, with their backyard basically spilling into these massive woods that stretch out for miles. No trails, no signs, just thick trees and underbrush that swallow you up if you're not careful. I'd grown up playing in those woods, building forts as a kid, sneaking out for bonfires in high school. It was my escape, you know? Looking back, I took that familiarity for granted, like nothing bad could ever happen in a place I knew so well. That particular day, I woke up with this itch to get away, even if just for a night. It was one of those lazy summer mornings. Sun streaming through my window, birds chirping, the whole bit. I figured, why not camp out in the woods? I'd done it a dozen times before, solo or with friends. No big prep, just grab my backpack, tent, some snacks, and go. I told my parents over lunch, hey, I'm heading out to camp tonight. Back tomorrow? Mom gave me that worried look she always does, like, be careful, Jason. But Dad just nodded, probably thinking it was good for me to rough it a bit. I packed light. Sleeping bag, flashlight, marshmallows for s'mores, a pocket knife just in case. Nothing fancy. Around 4 p.m., I slung my bag over my shoulder and stepped into the trees, the crunch of leaves under my boots feeling like freedom. The hike in was peaceful at first. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting those golden spots on the forest floor. I wandered deeper than usual, maybe an hour out, looking for a spot that felt right. No rush. I knew these woods like the back of my hand. Eventually, I stumbled on this little clearing, ringed by tall pines, with a flat patch of grass perfect for a tent. I set up camp quick, pitched the tent, gathered some dry branches for a fire, and got a small blaze going as the sun started dipping low. The air smelled like pine and smoke, that classic campfire scent that makes everything feel right with the world. I sat there on a log, watching the flames dance, feeling the day's tension melt away. This was exactly what I needed. A cozy night under the stars. No distractions, just me and nature. But yeah, it didn't stay cozy for long. The sun was just kissing the treetops, turning everything orange and shadowy, when I heard it. A voice, male, low, like someone muttering to themselves. It echoed weirdly through the trees, making it hard to tell where it was coming from. At first, I froze, straining to listen. Was it words? Or just grunts? The woods were getting darker fast, shadows blending everything together. I mean, these aren't groomed parks. This is raw wilderness, no paths, no people usually. Running into someone out here? Super unlikely. I figured maybe a hiker passing through, or hell, even my imagination playing tricks after a long day. I call out if it got closer, but for now I just sat tight, poking the fire. The muttering didn't stop, though. It dragged on for what felt like 5 minutes, maybe more. Not getting louder or softer, just persistent, like whoever it was wasn't moving on. My heart started picking up a bit. Looking back, I should have packed up right then, but I told myself it was nothing. Finally, I couldn't take it. Hello, I yelled, my voice cracking a little in the quiet. And just like that, silence. Dead silence. No response, no more muttering. The birds had stopped too, like the whole forest was holding its breath. I sat there, staring into the trees, feeling this prickly unease crawl up my neck. Was someone watching me? Or was it just an animal, and my mind filling in the blanks? I know it sounds crazy, but in that moment the woods felt alive, in a bad way. With the light fading fast, maybe 20 or 30 minutes left, I decided screw this, I'm moving spots. No point ruining the night over some weird noise. I doused the fire quick, packed my gear in a rush, and headed deeper into the trees, flashlight in hand now that the sun was pretty much gone. My beam cut through the gloom, bouncing off trunks and leaves. I walked for about 15 minutes, heart still thumping, before settling on a new spot. Not as open, just a tight cluster of trees with enough space for the tent. It wasn't ideal, but time was against me. I set up again, hands a little shaky, and got another small fire going. The flames helped chase away the chill, both outside and in my gut. The woods were silent now, that deep, heavy quiet where every rustle sounds amplified. I tried to shake it off, probably just a lost hunter or something. Yeah, right. As the night settled in, I forced myself to relax. The fire crackled softly, casting flickering light on the surrounding trees. I pulled out my snack bag, stabbed a marshmallow on a stick, and held it over the flames. There's something hypnotic about roasting marshmallows, the way they turn golden, then catch just a bit. I made a couple s'mores, the chocolate melting perfectly, and for a while it worked. My mind drifted to dumb stuff. College classes, that girl I had a crush on back at school. Hours slipped by. Must have been midnight or close, and the fire was dying down to embers, glowing soft orange. I was thinking about calling it a night, crawling into the tent. That's when it happened. A crunch. Leaves and twigs snapping underfoot. From somewhere behind me, back left of the camp. My head snapped around, but the darkness swallowed everything beyond the fire's faint glow. It stopped as soon as I looked. Heart racing again, I grabbed my flashlight, sweeping the beam over the trees. Nothing. Who's there? I called, voice steadier than I felt. Silence. I waited, beam shaking a little in my hand. Maybe an animal? Deer? But it had sounded heavy, deliberate. I strained my ears, the fire popping softly behind me. Then another crunch, but from a different spot. My light whipped around, and there he was. A man stepped into the firelight, emerging from the shadows like he'd been waiting. Older guy, maybe 40s, scruffy beard, wearing a worn jacket. He didn't look startled. Hell, he smiled. Didn't mean to scare you, he said, voice casual as he strolled right up to the fire and sat down on a log across from me, holding his hands out to warm them, like we were old buddies or something. I blinked, brain catching up. Can I help you? I think you're at the wrong campsite. He just shook his head. No. That's all he said. No. Cold. Flat. I shifted, unease turning to full-on creeped out. Who does that? Just shows up in the middle of nowhere and acts like they belong? We sat there in this awkward silence, the fire crackling between us. His eyes reflected the flames, unblinking. I tried to play it cool, but my mind was racing. What if this was the voice from earlier? Finally, I blurted it out. You happen to be the one I heard talking back at my other spot? His face went blank, staring into the fire. Must have been someone else, he muttered, voice dropping to this monotone chill. No emotion, just off. I swallowed hard, glancing around. The woods felt smaller, closing in. Looking back, I should have told him to leave right then, but I didn't want to escalate. What if he got aggressive? Then a snap. Another stick breaking behind me again. My blood froze. I whipped around, flashlight beam catching movement. Footsteps. Not alone. The man across the fire was staring at me now, eyes dead cold. No smile, no nothing. Just this empty gaze that sent ice down my spine. Panic hit like a freight train. I bolted up, grabbing my bag mid-stride, and sprinted into the trees. Behind me, voices, frustrated shouts. Hey! One yelled, footsteps pounding after me. Branches whipped my face. Roots tripped me up, but I knew these woods. Childhood memories guided me. Left at the big oak, straight through the thicket. My lungs burned, flashlight bobbing wildly, but the sounds faded. They couldn't keep up. I burst onto the road, gasping, legs like jelly. Stumbled the whole way back to my parents' house, pounding on the door till the lights flipped on. Mom's face went white when she saw me. What happened? I spilled it all. Dad calling 911 while I caught my breath. Cops showed up quick, took my statement, but it was too dark to search then. Next morning, we led them back. Me, 2 officers, tromping through the woods. My campsite, empty. Tent gone. Fire pit cold like it had never been lit. No trace of the men, my gear, nothing. Officers poked around, said maybe thieves, but I saw the doubt in their eyes. You sure about this? One asked. Yeah, I was sure. But without proof, case closed. That was it. I never went back into those woods. Even now, years later, I avoid them. My parents sold the house eventually, but the memory sticks. Were they robbers? Or something worse? I still hear those footsteps in my dreams. That dead stare. I know it sounds crazy, but what if they were waiting for someone like me? Alone, impulsive. Looking back, I should have listened to that first muttering, packed up sooner. I question it all. Was it real, or my mind cracking under isolation? But the empty sight, I can't explain it. And honestly, I don't want to. My name's Alex, and this happened to me back in the summer of 2022. I was 28 at the time, just coming off a rough breakup and feeling like I needed to hit reset on my life. I'd always been into the outdoors, hiking, camping, that kind of thing. Grew up in Montana, so the wilderness was basically my backyard. But I'd never done anything big, you know? So, when I got the idea to drive from northern Montana all the way up to Alaska, it felt like the perfect escape. 2 months on the road, camping out of my SUV, exploring places most people only see in documentaries. Looking back, I should have thought twice about going solo, especially on the Alaska Highway. That road's notorious. Desolate stretches through western Canada, rough terrain, and spots where you won't see another soul for miles. But hey, I was young, invincible, right? I know it sounds crazy now, but at the time, it was all about freedom. I spent weeks prepping my old Toyota 4Runner. Turned the back into a makeshift camper. Sleeping platform, cooler for food, solar panel for charging my phone. The works. Packed enough supplies for weeks. Canned goods, water purifier, first aid kit, even a bear spray canister since I'd heard stories about grizzlies up north. The one thing that bugged me was the gun situation. I usually kept a pistol tucked under the seat for protection. Nothing fancy, just peace of mind. But crossing into Canada meant no firearms. Their laws are strict. I felt a little naked without it, but I figured, what's the worst that could happen? Wildlife. I deal with that. People? Well, out there, people are few and far between. Or so I thought. The drive started smooth. Crossed the border without a hitch, and the first day was 8 solid hours on roads that weren't too bad. Still some towns, gas stations every 100 miles or so. The scenery was killer. Rolling hills giving way to thicker forests. Mountains peaking in the distance. I blasted my playlist. Some old rock tunes to keep me company. And felt that rush of adventure. By sundown, I was beat. Spotted a pull-off trail leading to a wooded campsite, one of those free spots tucked away in the trees. It was dark by the time I parked, so I didn't scout much. Just forest all around, no other vehicles. Perfect. I put up my window shades for privacy, hopped in the back, and crashed hard. Slept like a rock. No dreams, no disturbances. Woke up refreshed, ready for day 2. Morning light filtered through the shades, and I stepped out to stretch. The air was crisp, pine-scented, with birds chirping overhead. Felt good. Decided to take a quick walk before hitting the road. Shake off the stiffness. There was a faint trail leading deeper into the woods, so I followed it. Maybe 5 minutes in, I stumbled on another campsite. But something was off. It looked trashed, like someone had bolted in a hurry. Tent fabric ripped and scattered. A backpack half open with clothes spilling out. Food wrappers everywhere. No fire pit ashes, though, like they hadn't even stayed long. My first thought was animals, maybe a bear rummaged through. But no claw marks, and the damage seemed too deliberate, like stuff had been yanked apart. I froze for a second, that prickly feeling on the back of my neck. Looking back, I should have hightailed it right then. But curiosity got me. I poked around a bit, saw no blood or anything grim, just mess. Then I heard a distant engine rumble. Nope, time to go. Back at my SUV, my heart skipped. Parked right next to it was an all-black pickup truck. Tinted windows, no plates I could see from the angle. It hadn't been there when I left. The woods were silent, no one outside. I glanced around. Trees thick on all sides, no sign of the driver. Felt like eyes on me, though. I casually walked to my door, keys ready, and slid in without looking back. Started the engine, pulled out slow like nothing was wrong. But my mind raced. Who parks that close in the middle of nowhere? And why no hello? I hit the highway, checking my rear view every few seconds. No truck followed. Shook it off as paranoia, maybe just another camper. But that gut twist lingered. Pushed on for 3-4 hours. The road got rougher. Potholes, gravel sections, fewer signs of civilization. Gas stations were sparse now, every couple 100 miles, so I stopped at the next one. A rundown spot with one ancient double-sided pump, looking like it hadn't been updated since the 70s. No other cars. I hopped out, swiped my card, started fueling. The views were epic. Snow-capped mountains framing the horizon, wildflowers dotting the roadside. I leaned against the car, breathing it in, pump clicking slow. Then, movement in the distance. A vehicle approaching. As it got closer, my blood went cold. Black pickup, tinted windows. Same one? Had to be. Pulled in, parked on the other side of the pump. Driver didn't get out. Just sat there, engine idling. I froze, pump still in hand. Why here? Coincidence? The highway's long, but this felt too perfect. I finished quick, capped the tank, got in without glancing over. Pulled out, heart hammering. Checked the mirror, truck didn't move. But I floored it anyway, putting miles between us. Paranoia kicked in hard. Was he following? Why not say hi at the campsite? And staying inside at the pump? Creepy. I told myself it was nothing. Lots of black trucks out here. But doubt nagged. I know it sounds crazy, but that truck felt intentional. Drove till dusk, eyes glued to the rear view. Sun dipped low, painting the sky orange, and I needed a spot for the night. Found a hidden pull-off brushline trail, tucked away, no recent tire marks. Felt safer, more concealed. Parked deep in, killed the engine. Stepped out to make dinner. Ramen on my portable stove, stars emerging overhead. The quiet was profound. Wind rustling leaves, distant owl hoot. Tempted to set up my tent for space, but something whispered no. Stay in the car, just in case. I ate, scrolled my phone, spotty signal. Watched the light fade completely. By 11 p.m., I was settled in the back, shades up, ready to crash. But sleep didn't come easy. Mind replayed the truck, the trash site. Was I overthinking? Then a crunch. Dry leaves underfoot. Outside. Not wind, too rhythmic like steps. I sat up slow, heart thumping. Another crunch, closer. Peered through a shade gap, nothing but black. Held my breath. Then a face. Pressed right against the glass. Pale in the moonlight. Eyes locked on mine. I yelped, scrambling back. The face vanished, but glass shattered. Back window exploding in. An arm reached in, groping for the lock. Get out! A voice growled. Another figure rushed the door. Panic surged. I lunged to the front, keys fumbling, engine roaring to life as the back door swung open. Floored it, tires spinning, past the hidden black truck in the bushes. They'd followed. All day. Drove a mile, shaking, pulled over. Secured the flapping door with duct tape from my kit. Called 911, signal weak, but got through. Explained. Break-in, 2 men, black truck. Cops said they'd check. But out here? Hours away. No plates noted, too dark for faces. I patched the window with plastic, continued to Alaska. Trip was great after glaciers, wildlife. But that night? Haunts me. Were they robbers? Something worse? Why follow for hours? I avoid isolated spots now, check mirrors constantly. I still can't explain it. That face at the window replays in dreams. What if I hadn't woken? Reflective twist. Maybe the trash site was their last victim. Guilt hits. Did I escape what someone else didn't? Lingering dread. Man, stay safe out there.